senior engineer in powertrain-by.
Good afternoon all. Thank you for a brief introduction. My last fellow presenter, he set on like the perfect condition for my presentation actually. So as you see, the title of my presentation is real-time optimal control of energy management system for any kind of electrified powertrain using reinforcement learning. As we know, and the primary objective of electrification of powertrain was primarily like the fuel consumption minimization. But as time proceeds and the electrification proliferates the auto industry, the the objective becomes so complex. So the optimization of fuel consumption as well as the tailpipe emission and drivability and other constraints they came into the picture, and uh, the electrified powertrain has to cater all those objectives. In order to cater all those objectives, there is a dedicated ECU known as energy management system is being provided in all the major electrified powertrains. So how the energy management system that controls satisfy all those objectives? Basically, it gives command to all the component level controllers in order to, so that the component level controllers can control the individual components around their best efficient zone, or to the system, the whole system around their optimum efficient zone. In order to do so, it needs a control strategy, right? So theoretically, the best thing is to solve the optimal control problem for the powertrain dynamics and those constraint situation. In order to solve that thing, it endangers a highly nonlinear constraint optimization problem. Unfortunately, there aren't many analytical uh, methodologies for solving those kind of highly nonlinear optimization problem, but numerically, there are a couple of very competent tools available to solve those kind of optimization problem. DP, known as like dynamic programming, also known as DP, is one of those numerical tool which can solve those kind of highly nonlinear constraint optimization with white A's. The advantage of DP is it gets ample amount of time to solve and to get a global optimal control strategy. But the disadvantage is the same thing. It takes a lot of time. Also, it has an incumbency of having the prior information of the full drive cycle. So, it cannot be implemented in real time. In order to solve the drawbacks of DP and other offline control strategies, researchers they have developed online or local control strategy. Instead of solving for the whole life cycle, it gives the control strategy for each point, each time steps. This is real-time implementable with slight modifications, and the computation burden is pretty less. But the problem is here, this is local optimal. So we need to have some control strategy which can give near global optimal, or like if it is global optimal, that's best. So looking at the drawbacks of those two kind of basic and popular control strategies, now researchers they have developed a rule-based control strategy where the rules are extracted from the DP or other offline-based control strategies, and they are put on in terms of rules or lookup tables, and they can be embedded in the ECU, and they can be pretty fast, like they can run pretty fast on the real-time applications. But the problem with this is the rules are only applicable to those drive cycles for those they are being extracted. So now we have been discarding all the popular control strategies. So our standard should be something high. Like what kind of objectives that we are looking from a control strategy? Let's see the ultimate objective that we are looking from a control strategy. For it, first is the control strategy should give a near global optimal solution for all kind of real world driving scenarios, and that should be implementable on real time, and it should be continuously updating as it interacts with new kind of real world driving scenarios. But there is a limitation. The first expectation is too much high. Like we are becoming a little bit over ambitious. We should give some allowance to the controller that no, at the very first interaction with a new driving situation, we cannot expect it to perform in a real global optimized way. So we allow some time. And the next limitation is the number of state variables that is required to describe a particular driving scenario that should be limited within 3 to 5. This is only to reduce the computational burden. Let's see, we have set the objectives. Now, in order to see what kind of control strategy can cater our objectives, we should go to the fundamentals of sequential decision making. Sequential decision making is, suppose there is an environment and a controller observing the state of the environment. The controller that imparts an action, and based on the action, it receives immediate consequence. Again, next time step, the same thing happens in all the time steps. There are few mathematical models which can describe this kind of sequential decision making. Markov decision making model, one of them, and that is profoundly used in the industry and academia. Let's see the key elements of Markov decision making model. First is the state variables. Here the state variable, the definition of state variable is little bit different than the conventional control strategy, like control system. Here we mean the state variables is only a set of data which is to describe the driving situation. Like in our case, or in the automotive sector, power demand, vehicle velocity, acceleration, value SOC, those can be a state variable. Next comes the action variable. Action variables are the action that is taken by the controller, which is being controlled by the agent or the controller. Engine speed, engine torque, motor speed, motor torque, that can be a control variable. Then comes the reward or immediate consequence. For every set of state and action combination, there should be a immediate consequence, and this is a characteristic element of the Markov decision making model. Apart from the immediate consequence, there should be a long-term consequence of action imparted on a particular state. In order to define that long-term effect, we say this as return. So when there is a discounting factor, if we want to calculate the long-term effect, including all the future rewards, then the discounting factor gamma will be 1. If we are just concerned about the immediate cost or reward, then the gamma will be 0. Then there is another characteristic element of Markov decision making model, that is the transition probability function. This is very important for Markov decision making model. Like this distinguishes one Markov decision making model with the another. Suppose the state of the environment is S, and at that time the controller imparts an action A. What is the probability of the environment landing on a S prime at the next time step? That probability is to define the transition probability function. Get to see why this is so important. Next, the two decision-making elements and very important elements of Markov decision-making model is value function, state value function and action value function. The state value function defines or suggests that how good it to be at a certain state. that from a certain state, the controller how much it can gain in the long-term perspective. And action value function defines or suggests that how good it to take a certain action from a state. That if I am in this state, at this state if I take a certain action, how much long-term gain or cost it gonna incur on me. So now the final thing is we are interested in some policy, some control policy. Whether it will be a short-term policy or a long-term policy. Whether the controller is interested in local optimal. If it is local optimal, then we should go for a short-term policy. If it is a long-term, then we should go for a long-term policy. Now the question is, how should we develop that policy? That is the end goal of the whole thing. We should have a policy. Obviously, we should follow some systematic algorithm or methodology. Now the question is, what kind of algorithm should we use? Now, if we have the transition probability function, that means we will be having the full model of the Markov decision model, and then we can take the help of DP-based algorithms. And if we don't have the full model of the Markov decision making model problem, then we have to rely upon the reinforcement learning-based algorithms. So in our case, in the real-world driving scenario, you never know what the future power demand is. So one of our state variable is always it's uncertain. So now it's being decided that we have to rely upon reinforcement learning-based algorithm. Now one of the very basic and most popularly used reinforcement algorithm is Q-learning algorithm. I'll talk very briefly how the Q-learning algorithm works, because the time won't allow me to do so. Suppose the vehicle and the drive cycle hold that comprise the environment, and the Q-learning, the algorithm is consisting of the Q table, which is an action value table for all the feasible combination of state and action, and a Q table Q value updating rule. The Q learning starts with a very random and naive Q table, and as it interacts in the real world scenario, real world driving scenario with the driving situation, the Q values are getting updated, and once the controller has the proper estimation or idea of Q values for all the feasible state and action combination, then it can pretty easily develop a near global optimal solution for any kind of driving situation. So we have while implementing, first step is to choose what kind of state variables we are taking. For our case, we have taken kept it pretty simple. We have taken battery SOC and power demand and discretized those values for some real world driving scenarios, and the number of states is 4346, and we have chosen action variables like engine speed and engine torque, and we have discretized those values, and we have 2762 action variables. Now for every combination, there is 2760 action variables. Out of those things, those numbers of action variables, we have 2472 feasible action variable combination. So now the second step is to articulate the immediate cost matrix. This articulation, it contributes a long effect in the whole convergence and the success of this early learning method. So there is a particular algorithm that we have followed for articulation of this immediate cost matrix. Then the third step is to take a random Q table as the same size of the immediate cost matrix. Then the fourth step is to iterate the drive cycles through that controller and the updating rule. So we have taken 63 real world drive cycles and iterated them 2000 times through that Q learning algorithm, and the simulation results tells like in the simulation results we had two expectations, like basic expectations that the Q learning should be able to complete the whole cycle, any given drive cycle, it should be able to complete like if I like that these two curves shows that at the beginning of the iteration, it is not able to complete a drive cycle. That means it's not able to complete a drive cycle within a battery SOC range between 10% to 90%. As the iteration number goes, like increases, then all the cycles, I have just taken only 2 cycles, all the cycles they are able, like the Q learning algorithm, it can able to complete all the cycles. And the second expectation was to whether the Q learning with solely like taking the sole responsibility of completing any drive cycle at initial SOC. So we can see at the beginning it wasn't completed with the initial SOC. There is a tolerance, but as the iteration number goes increases, it completes all the drive cycles around 35%, which was in our case the initial SOC. So the next thing and the final thing was to compare with the which is a global optimal solution, which is given by a DP. We have taken an arbitrary drive cycle and performed DP on that drive cycle, and again we performed RL, the Q learning algorithm on that particular drive cycle, and we got almost for our case, which is the dotted one, the DP ends the cycle at 36.22%, whereas RL that ends the cycle at 38%, and fuel consumption is little bit like it's 12% higher than the DP. So we can say that the RL is a near global optimal solution. We are not bragging that it's completely a global optimal solution, but the thing is, for any real world driving scenarios, if you tune your Q learning algorithm controller, then once you deploy the algorithm in your vehicle, it can iterate with multiple driving scenario. As it goes experience, as it becomes experience, it will give more and more real optimal solution.